Is it ready? Okay. As Nancy stated, I am Sara Coberly and was the first pioneer lady to settle and run a business in what is now Douglas County. Settle in, because I'm not a woman who tells a short story, when a long one would do just as well. And besides, I've earned the right to talk your ear off. I've buried 2 marriages, crossed half a continent behind an ox team, fed territorial legislators biscuits they still talk about, and outlived more gossip than most towns generate in a decade. So, where shall we start? I suppose we start with Indiana, though I don't remember much of it. I was born there in 1824, or thereabouts. Even the county clerk couldn't keep my birth date straight, and Lord knows I never bothered to correct him. A woman my age learns quickly that some numbers are worth arguing about. Money mostly, and some aren't worth the breath. I married James Coberly in Vermilion, Illinois, when I was a teen, just like most other women during that time. James played the fiddle. Oh, he played it well. I'll give him that. And for years, that was enough. We had 4 children: Bill, Joe, Hersa, and Maddie. In 1857, we moved to Iowa, Mills County, looking as everyone was always looking for something better just over the next rise. And it was where I met a man who would spend the rest of our lives trying to get the better of me in conversation and failing nearly every time. D.C. Oaks. Lord help me, that man and his wife Olive, 10 years younger than me, and somehow 10 years wiser some days, and my dearest friend on this earth or any other. D.C. fancied himself a wit. I want this on the record. He fancied himself a wit. Now, the wagon train. My husband James left in 1858 to check out rumors of wealth in the West. Returning to Iowa in 1859, we decided to also chase the rumors of gold and wealth in the Kansas Territory and joined the wagon train in 1860. Soon after we arrived, it became the Colorado Territory. Understand, we did not have the good sense to follow Mr. Oak's own guidebook, which he had written up specifically to help pilgrims like us find the way. No, we went up the north side of the Platte instead, either out of stubbornness or ignorance. To this day, I could not tell you which, though I have my suspicions about James. The children thought it was all a great adventure. Hersa and Maddie rode alongside the wagon on their own horses and tended to the extra stock, like it was the finest sport in the world. And at night, James would take out that fiddle, and the whole train would sing and dance around the fire like we hadn't a worry between us. We had plenty of worries. We just didn't let them keep us from dancing. We came down along West Plum Creek, north of what's now Perry Park, and we built. That's the thing people forget about pioneering. It wasn't all wagon trains and Indian scares, though the Lord knows there was enough of both. Mostly it was building. Building a house, building a life, building something out of raw creek bottom, land that hadn't asked for any of us to be there. A couple of years later, we had to rebuild, when the town of Huntsville was relocated to East Plum Creek in the area that is now the Jellystone, what a name, establishment. We sold what we still owned back in Iowa in January of 1862. That was that. We were in Colorado for good, whether Colorado wanted us or not. Now, the halfway house. This is the part people remember. So let me set the record straight while I have a chance. Because I've read some of what's been written, and half of it gives James entirely too much credit. Yes, my husband played that fiddle in the front room most evenings. And yes, my daughters were charming enough that half the county came through just to hear them laugh. But everyone called it Mrs. Coberly's place. Not James, mine. I did the cooking, I kept the books, I managed the stock and the stage schedules and the rooms and the arguments between the Teamsters. When the second territorial legislature, what a rowdy bunch, stopped through on their way from Colorado City to Denver in the summer of '62, they liked what they found well enough that one of their very first orders of business, I am not exaggerating, you may look this one up, was to declare that the road from Denver to Pueblo would be a territorial road, providing it ran through Mrs. Coberly's ranch. I have been called many things in my life. Being named as a territorial road requirement is by far my favorite. I tell you this not to boast. I tell you this not to boast well, perhaps a little to boast. A woman is allowed some vanity after 70-some years on this earth. But mostly I tell you because I want it understood. I was never a woman standing behind a man's business. It was my business. My name was on the land. Years later, when the census man came through in 1870, he wrote down my assets and my husband's assets side by side, and mine was a larger figure. James left the territory in 1863. I filed for divorce myself that August, and I stated plainly that he had left and could not be served papers. And I kept the property, every acre of it. There is a story, you may have heard it, that James was killed by Indians near Franktown sometime after. I cannot swear to you that it's true, and I cannot swear to you that it's not. A soldier's diary from those years calls me the widow Coberly, so plainly some people believed it. What I will tell you is that grief has many shapes, and my son Joseph took whatever grief he had and turned it into a Colorado Volunteers uniform and marched off to serve and defend us from the Indians he believed killed his father. That is a chapter of this family's history I do not enjoy discussing, and will not dress up prettier than it deserves. But now let me tell you about another military man that joined the family, Silas Soule. That man deserves better than a footnote. Silas was young, brave in a particular way that costs a man something. And he had the great good sense to fall in love with my daughter, Hersa. They married in Denver on April Fool's Day of 1865, which tells you something about the both of them, that they pick that date on purpose and laugh about it. I must admit, I was not particularly in favor of the marriage, as they had only known each other for a very short time, and I did hear rumor that he was looking for a rich woman to marry. However, even I can't deny that they dearly loved each other. Alas, it was not to last. Silas had testified against Colonel Shivington about what happened at Sand Creek, told the truth when the truth was dangerous and unpopular in equal measures. And not everyone in this family thought kindly of him for it. 3 weeks after that wedding, he went to see about the sound of gunfire in a Denver street, doing what a decent man does, and he did not come home. My Hersa was a widow less than a month after her wedding. 2 weeks after Silas died, May of 1865, I married William Crow, right there at my own home in Huntsville. Practical, you might say, and you would not be wrong. A woman running a hotel and a stage stop along a stretch of territorial road does not always have the luxury of waiting for her heart to catch up with her circumstances. William was a good enough man for a time. He was postmaster of Huntsville. He kept the hotel books when I let him, and he came with me later to Denver when we sold the halfway house in '69. And he took up carpentry. That same summer of '65, while my own daughter's grief was still raw, a widow named Julia Owen came to me with her daughter, Lizzie Field, 11 years old, starving in Denver, with a father who died of dysentery and a dead baby sister behind her. I'd gone to town for supplies. I came home with a girl instead. I signed the indenture papers myself. William and I raised her as our own soon after, and she carried the Kroll name. People write books about the wagon trains and the massacres and forget that half of what a pioneer woman did was simply take in whoever needed taking in and feed them and teach them to read a ledger and marry them off decently when the time came. We had her wedding to John Kinner in my own front room in 1871. John Kinner came to Colorado alone as a young man from Rock Island, Illinois. He was a teamster on the old Santa Fe Trail before establishing his large and successful ranch in the West Plum Creek Valley, just north of present-day Perry Park. They raised 11 children at that ranch. The ranch house is still there today. William and I divorced in 1881 in Denver. And I will say this plainly because I am proud of it. My dearest friends, DC and Olive Oaks, stood up and testified on my behalf. This is what friendship is worth. And Olive Oaks stood up and this is what friendship is worth in the end. Not the jokes, though heaven knows DC and I traded plenty of those over the years. He once told me, watching me hang my wash, that he supposed I'd taken up laundering for money, and he'd send his over so I could earn a little. I did his shirt and his socks up very neatly, and I sent them back to him with a bill for $5. Now, $5 was worth a lot more in those days. He paid it. I still consider that one of my finer professional achievements.
Now, wait a minute. She tells this story every time she gets up. And I have no idea why, but I finally figured it out. She tells me I paid it, but I don't remember paying it. So I'm giving you $5, and hopefully that'll end the story.
I lost my HRSA in 1879, only 34. An illness took her, though she'd given the world 3 children, first by her second marriage to Alfred Lee. Her son named Homer came into this life with a crooked back and grew into a mind so sharp he ended up an advisor to Sun Yat-sen during the Boxer Rebellion in China and wrote a book that included a prediction of the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. I did not live to see all of what he became, but I heard enough to know that his mother's cleverness had gone somewhere useful. Eventually, I went west again, further west this time, to California, and married Mr. Clarkson Start and settled in San Jose. Olive came out to visit me once, dragging her daughter Laura along, trying to put half a continent between the girl and a suitor she wasn't ready to call her son-in-law. That suitor followed them the whole way to California anyway, stubborn as a Colorado mule, and they were married in my own front room. I do seem to attract weddings. I don't mind it. A house that's hosted a few good weddings has done something right by itself. So there you have it. 5 children by the end, 3 husbands, 1 hotel, 1 territorial road designated to go right by my halfway house, a good many divorces I'm not remotely ashamed of, and a life that started in an Indiana farmhouse nobody remembers and will end in California, a very long way from Douglas County. Though I'll tell you honestly, some part of me never quite left that creek bottom, or that fiddle music, or the sign of the legislators arguing over my biscuits. I built what I built with my own hands and kept it in my own name. And if that surprised people in my day, well, it shouldn't have. A woman who can run a stage shop, raise 4 children and 1 indentured girl, bury a fiddle-playing husband's memory, and 2 more marriages besides, and still find the wherewithal to charge DC Oaks $5 for laundry, that woman was never going to be anybody's footnote.